Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello, Fearless Freedom family. We are back. And what a pleasant surprise. Oh my God. Guys, let me tell you, I know that social media gets a bad rap, but I'm telling you, in this situation, it is got all thumbs up on my page. Let me tell you, I met this wonderful woman on Instagram, and she is going to tell you all the awesome things that she's up to and who she is. And her name is Sammie Joseph-Fredericks. Sammie, can you tell the Fearless Freedom Tribe who you are and what you're up to?
Thank you so much for having me. Like you said, my name is Sammie Joseph-Fredericks. I am originally from Liberia, West Africa. Right, I moved here to the States 22 years ago in 1997, and it feels like I've been here forever. Currently live in Minneapolis with my husband, and we have a son who's 5 years old. His name is Luke. And we met through like you said, we met through my Instagram page, the Teaching Mama, and how that came about is I had this, we go through life, you have all of these experiences, right? And made a lot of mistakes, learned from them. I feel like a lot of them could have been avoided if I had been taught certain things as a kid. Especially one of the main things was like, around money and some of the mistakes that I made there. So I had my son 5 years ago, and I looked at this kid. You have kids, you have a child, and nobody explains the emotions and the love that you feel for this child and how you want to protect them, right, from everything. Of course, we can't do that, but I look at this child, his name is Luke, and I look at Luke and I'm like, some of the things that I have been through, I do not want him to go through. So I started doing a lot of research. I love science. I love, research. I love stats and all that kind of stuff. And, being an African woman, my husband is also African, with this Black kid growing up in America, I knew that, immediately a lot of odds were going to be stacked against him, right? So we don't homeschool, even though a lot of people think that we do, based on
I
the
thought
information.
so.
Yeah, people will come in, will send me messages, inbox, and be like, do you guys homeschool, or are you a teacher? And I say that I am not a teacher by profession. I work with, I work as a regulatory affairs professional with a large medical device company here in Minneapolis. So I'm a full-time working mom, and I come home and I still teach this kid. I taught him how to read. I teach him, and not just like academics, I teach him how to manage emotions. And as we learn all of these things, I am learning myself because I wasn't taught, right? So we read a lot. We learn about emotions. We learn about managing money, finances. And so I started the Teaching Mom. I just started sharing because a lot of my friends that knew me was like, oh my God, you're doing the most. You know how friends can be. And I'm like, I'm not going to leave the education of my son, since we're not homeschooling, just up to a system, right? I'm not going to do that.
Absolutely.
I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't trust that. I mean, there are amazing teachers out there, don't get me wrong, but I feel like parents and teachers have to collaborate on the education of their kids. We have to reiterate, to come home and stress, and go over like what they did in school, and kind of reiterate that at home to make the whole process easy, for everybody. So that's how I started the Teaching Mama. I love teaching, and I was like, I'll just share. And we're going to talk about some of the fears, around what I do now. But, you know, I share. That's the last thing that I want to do. I want to sit in my corner and just do what I do. But I believe, you know, I have this passion in my heart that's been tugging at my heart for the longest. And I can't sit back anymore and just be like, oh, this is just about Luke, my son, or it's about my family. It's about more than that. You know, I live in a community. If my community doesn't do well, we're going to feel the impact. So
Oh
I'm just like, you
yes,
know, I'm
so
just
true.
going to put it out there, whatever I'm teaching my son. And if a parent out there can say, you know what, if she can do this, maybe I need to do this, you know. Or some of the things that I shared, I've gotten feedback like, oh my God, you know, it's amazing what you're doing. Is by no means easy, but I mean, there are many days I just want to come home from work and just lay in my bed, flick on the TV, watch craziness, you know, but I can't do that. I can't do that. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of time, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy sharing it. And, you know, out of this, I have such a passion around, I seriously believe that, you know, we need, with all of the teaching that we do with our kids, we have to teach them we have to teach them financial literacy. And you know, as a result of that, you know, I wrote a children's book series that the first book is supposed to be coming out by the end of this month. So
Awesome. Okay,
it's a
so
lot there,
there's
but
so much there to
yeah.
unwrap. I mean, we're talking about, you know, now you had this epiphany once Luke was born,
Mhm.
and you're looking at him and you're like, okay, yes, there's going to be a system that is going to educate you through the daytime, but mommy is going to expand on that education
Yeah.
from the emotional side to make you a stronger man when you get older, and
Mhm.
also from the financial side to ensure that you have stability when you get older as well. Don't fall
Yeah,
into the
because you know
that we're all in.
yeah,
So
you go through the system and you look back and say there were a lot of things that I wasn't taught in school. And if you're not taught that at home, then you just don't know. You're just gonna learn these things just by experiencing them, right? And sometimes, yeah, there are people that are strong enough to, you know, go through certain things, and then there are other people who are just like, I I don't know what to do in this situation, right? So
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting that you have chosen financial literacy as, you know, a target point, because that is such an incredible thing in our communities. I mean, not just, you know, the African American community,
mhm.
or the African community, or, you know, not even just our community as people of color,
Right.
but
Yep.
like in general, because I talk to young people now and they have no clue. They have not
Yep.
thought about saving for retirement. They have not thought about
Mhm.
investing. And I confess that I'm not a big investor. Like, I put money away like in my 401k like religiously. Like, I probably save, you know, like 20% of my earnings or more. Like, I'm really like religious about that. But I don't invest outside of that. Like, I'm not putting additional monies
Right.
into other accounts that will also grow. And so
Yeah.
it's
And
like, you know, I wish I did that more, you know, and I wish that my children would also have that same desire. So this is a huge pain point for a lot of people. So I'm
it
so
is.
happy that
And
you're addressing it.
yeah, and I feel that it is, yeah, you know, there are a lot of studies out there that show that our kids learn from us, whether we're teaching intentionally or not. They're watching us, they're learning. And there's studies out there that show that kids develop their money mindset or their attitude towards money by the age of 7. They're learning from us, right?
Woo!
So
That's a scary thought.
if you just talked about kids, yeah, so if you talk about kids out there that you see that have no clue about these things, it's because their parents don't talk to them about it. Their parents don't know. A lot of times we make mistakes and we feel like we're not the authority to teach anybody about money. Look at my credit score, look at all this stuff, right? I have no business teaching anybody about anything regarding money. But you know, if you wait to be at the perfect place to put it out there and teach, you're probably never going to do it. So
Yeah,
you
too
learn
late.
together. It's like, you know, these are, and sometimes it's good to show your children that these are mistakes that I made, and
Oh
let's
yeah.
learn together. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's so helpful, and you know, this is another one. It's probably one of those character lessons that you probably shared with your son. But like, you know, it's like, you know, so say for example, one of our children, she is very competitive. So she'll be outside, she'll be in the backyard on the basketball court, and she'll be shooting, and she'll start missing shots, and she will just be so upset about that.
Yeah.
And she'll come in, she'll storm into the house, and she'll be basically like, I'm no good at basketball. And I'm like, oh, really? So how are you not good at basketball? I was watching you, and you made several of those shots. Yes, you did miss a few, but you made quite a few as well. And it's like, we tend to focus on the negative, the quote unquote failures, but instead of thinking about them like, okay, well, when I was in this particular position, that seemed to be the position where I seemed to miss most of my shots. So perhaps I need to adjust how I am standing, how I am pushing off, how I am, releasing the ball, et cetera, to ensure that I have better accuracy next time. Like, instead of looking at it as a learning experience, we tend to look at it like, we aren't great, we are playing, not
one
that
mistake,
we are learning. So
right, and again, it goes back to kids come into this world to us on a as a clean slate, and they're picking up everything from their parents, their moms, their dads, grandparents, caregivers, teachers, friends. They're looking around, and they're this is how they're developing their own personality and character, character traits and all that stuff, right? We are pouring, we are molding these kids, even whether we know it or not, right? So like, a mom could be a perfectionist and not, like doing certain things, not even like trying to teach her daughter, stuff, but her daughter could pick that up and say like, if my mom can do all these things, why, like, and translate that into her situation on the basketball court and say, if I'm missing this, then I'm probably not good enough. So it's like, so many things to think about, so many opportunities to teach our kids, like, and it's just like, my son is 5, and some of the conversations that I've had with him is, and some of the, we look at them like, oh, they're kids, they're not going to get it yet. But you just have the conversation, and it's amazing how they come back and be like, oh, you remember you said this, or, and they start acting out on some of those conversations that you have. Yeah.
No, absolutely. They're listening, they're watching all the time, constantly modeling behaviors. So same child. I love this girl. Same child. She models like everything that I do. So I'm really big into physical fitness. And so like I would do these workouts, and I'm always like putting the workouts out on, on Instagram and Facebook, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so she now has, like from early, like from she was probably like 4, she would be like, hey, I'm making an exercise video, just like mommy.
Yeah.
So they model your behavior, whether it's positive or negative. So you just have to try your best to make the behaviors that they're going to be modeling be positive.
Yeah. And I don't know.
When they're not, acknowledge it. Just be honest with them. Just be like, look, mommy messed up, but this is really what we should be doing instead.
Yeah, true.
So tell me a little bit more about that. So you basically came to that realization about wanting to focus on financial health, financial wellness. How did you go from that realization to actually taking the step of writing a book? I mean, that's not a minuscule step, right? I mean, there's some lily pads along the way there to get to the other side of the riverbank. So let us know what kind of fear you experienced and how you. Oh
my God, a lot. Just thinking about it now, and somebody, I posted like a video unboxing the proof of the book yesterday on Instagram, and somebody was like, "Oh my God, you're an author now!" And I was just like, "Yeah, I wrote a book, but and it's just those fears."
Oh, writing a book makes you an author. This newsflash.
I know,
okay,
right?
Newsflash.
And that's exactly what it is. And I have to keep telling myself that that's what it is. It's not about showing off or boasting or or anything like that. It's like, you wrote a book, that's what you are. So like I said, I did a lot of research. I learned a lot of stuff on my own. Fixed a lot of situations that I had found myself in, and I realized that I wanted to teach all this stuff to my son. we do a lot of storytelling where he just loves for me to sit down and just make up stories. You know, we used to do that a lot in Liberia, where I'm from. And so that's a huge part of, we read a lot, but I also just like sit, you know, and just tell him stories, you know, and he just loves that. And my husband will always say, you should write a book with some of the things that you do with this kid, you know. And so, and I just sat down, and it, you know, I really wanted to make it simple. The goal initially was just to write something that I'll just like print out and read, you know, from home. It wasn't anything that anybody outside my house was going to see, right? And so I wrote it, and then I was like, you know, I showed it to my husband. It's like, you should publish this. You know, I'm like, are you crazy? And my son will always come home. He's heard this story like over and over. I'll read it to him, and he just loves it. He's like, can you read the story? But because the character in the, you know, the main character is Luke. After, can you read my book, the story about me?
That's awesome.
You know? Right. And one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I'll do this is like, number one, there's not a lot of literature books out there on this topic that targets young children. That's number one. Two, the ones that were out there did not have characters that looked like my son. I seriously believe that representation matters. He has, you know, kids need to see themselves represented in these books that we're reading to them, for them to believe that these are things that they can do.
Absolutely.
Right? We read all kinds of books. I've read books with Indian characters. Because I also really believe in that, you know, it's important to have diverse literature for your kids, you know. And so, but there were not a lot of books with Black kids, you know, on this topic. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And so that's how, you know, so that's how it came out there. So when we talk about fears around these things, one of my biggest fear was like, okay, and I live in my head a lot. So I'm like talking back and forth.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest fears was like, okay, it has Black characters. Will other, you know, race, you know, like gravitate towards, you know, will even think about buying this book?
Of course they will.
Right, but these are fears that you have, right? Because I want everybody to be able to pick up this book and just look at the main purpose, to teach our kids about, because it's not just a Black issue, that, you know, money issue that we're having. It's not just just related to like Black people. You know, we're all having these issues, right? So just because a Black character is on the cover, I'm like, are white people gonna want to read this book? You know?
Yes.
Are they going to look past the color of the people on this? You know, so these are some of the fears. Are people even going to take me seriously? You know, I'm a regulatory affairs professional. I'm writing children's book. You know, this is the first one coming out this month. You know, people that know me, are they going to take me seriously? Because, you know, sometimes it's like the people that are closest to you that'll be like,
yes.
yeah,
the prophet is not honored in their own land.
Right. You know, and so it's just like, you know, so there were a lot of questions, a lot of fears, but I'm just like, you know what, this is so important. Even if one person picks up this book and it makes a huge impact in their family or on their kids, my work is done. I'm happy. That's, you know, for me, that's what it is.
Okay. So it was the why that drove you past the fear. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you saw like the bigger picture.
And if you know me, I am not the one that like to put myself out there like that.
Oh, is that right?
I do not. This is the last thing that I want to do.
Well, like, you know, you just tore the Band-Aid off. So there you have it. More to come.
Oh my God. I have a lot of people pushing me and saying, you know, you should do this, you know, and so.
No, that's great, because, you know, the first Band-Aid pulled off is always the hardest, right? After that, you know, book number 2, you know, book tour, et cetera, follows.
I know people are be like, are you going to do a launch for the book? I'm like, do I need to?
Yes, you should. You should do a launch for the book. I'm just saying, you should do a launch. I don't know. I know you're on Instagram. I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, right. But
I am.
You can do a launch on both platforms. So you can literally do your stories leading up to the launch, and you could do like a live launch right there in your home, and you can share it with the masses through that.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And, that's really get it, you know, get it off the ground and get the word out about it. And then I don't know, like, I'm sure that you can probably do some things locally, like with your school district even, because I know schools are always looking for books talking about like economics and things like that. And so, that book is definitely something that I believe the school district would be interested in. The library, you can go do a book signing at the library. So there are lots of opportunities to kind of get the word out, even in your local community about this. Let's see, the United Way. So you can look up your Lions Club, your United Way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's so many places where you can get your material out there.
Yeah, I know. I keep finding. I mean, yeah, you're so right. And people, a lot of people have been reaching out and telling me all these things, that I could do once the book is actually out there. So I'm excited. Nerve-wracking.
It's
Like I
exciting.
said.
Oh my goodness, it's so exciting.
But I have to always remind myself that this is way more than me. This is way more than me, and if there's a message that's supposed to be out there and I don't want to step out and be used, God will use somebody else, so it's just like it has to be out there. Now is the time. We need to prepare our kids. We need to, some of the things that I went through, there's no way. It's like knowing something that you go out there and you find the solution to this problem and you decide that you're just going to sit on it just because you don't want to put yourself out there. So a lot of kids coming behind you will suffer just because, I don't want to put myself out there. No.
Yeah, it is such a powerful thing when you have a message, because you are uniquely you, right? You are going to affect a sphere of people. And then because of that sphere that is surrounding you, that you're affecting more, there'll be a ripple effect that will occur because then their sphere and continuing on and on. And so you're right. When you don't share your message because you're afraid, then you are depriving your tribe of thriving. Right. So just like you said, so the message for these youth is not going to get out if you don't put it out, because your tribe is waiting for you to share your knowledge. So yes, I'm super excited that the book is coming out. When's it coming out again?
It should be out by the end of this month.
Okay. All right. So hey guys, that means that you got to check out her Instagram, The Teaching Mama. And make sure that you follow her stories so that you can know when the book is actually coming out, so you can order your book and support and share it with your friends, because that's how we get the message out. That's how we get more and more people to be educated about these kinds of topics. And so tell us, are there any other projects that you're currently working on besides the book? I know that's a big one. So is there anything else that you're working on besides that?
Well, this one is the main one. I'm also, I can't believe I'm just gonna put it out there. Then it's just gonna
put it out in the universe, because guess what? Then it'll get manifested.
Right. So I'm also going to be like you, starting a podcast.
Yay! That makes my heart so happy.
I know. And the thing is, with all this stuff that I'm putting out there, like I said, I'm by no means the expert on any of these things. I'm learning from people in my circle. I'm learning from Instagram. Like, you started your intro today with, don't badmouth social media. I cannot badmouth social media. Some of the
Me
people
neither.
like you,
I've made so many great
connections I have met, and some of the people that I'm learning from. So the goal of the podcast will just be like almost like a continuous learning thing for me. Where I'll invite moms or dads or or parents, caregivers, teachers, just to kind of share, some of the things that they're teaching and some of the things they're learning, some of the things they're doing with their kids and their families, and just spread the knowledge that way. So
that sounds awesome. So when's the podcast being released?
I don't know. soon.
Oh, see now, okay, there's a
I
rule.
know.
There's a rule. There's a rule. The rule is, number one, put it out there in the universe, right? Because then if put it out there, it will definitely happen. The second part of the rule, though, is you have to have a date.
A
You have to
date.
say
I
by
know.
December 31st or, by January 1st, I'm going to have this wrapped and rolling. You got to do it, or else it won't happen. It will happen if you don't do it.
I'm going to put it out there today, September 12th, 2019, December 1st.
Okay, you guys heard it here first. So December 1st, we don't have a name yet on the podcast. We don't know, but we know the gist of it. And we're going to be looking out for it. So that's even more a reason for you guys to follow the Teaching Mama and see when her podcast is going to be released and follow all the good stuff that she's got going on, because she's got some great content on her page, and her son is super cute. That's the other thing too.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. That is so good. And then it's just really powerful, the fact that you utilized your why as the impetus that pushed you through facing the fears that you had about launching, about getting the book going, about even, just putting yourself out there, because it sounds like you are a little bit of an introvert just from, what you're saying and how you have expressed yourself. And it's not easy for introvert to just be like, okay, here I am world, this is what I'm offering, that's not easy. And so I definitely applaud you for taking that first step, ripping off that Band-Aid and just putting yourself out there, because your tribe is definitely waiting to hear from you and to receive the gift that you are presenting to them with the valuable content. So thank you again for doing that, for punching fear in the face and just stepping out there and on faith, and know great things are going to happen. Because what they say, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever you step outside your comfort zone, that's when the growth occurs. That's when you see in your growth, your personal growth and development, and you see even more doors start opening. The more you say what you want, you put it out there in the universe, you put a time stamp on it, as you did today with the podcast. And so I just know great things are going to happen with the book.
I need to write that down.
Going to happen with the podcast. So looking forward to everything that's coming out from you and from your page and from your company, because you are a company, right? You are your brand. So
Thank you. I'm going to come to you for some pointers.
What's that?
I'm coming to you on some pointers on how to start the podcast.
I'm a baby in the podcasting realm.
Oh, you're doing amazing.
I am a baby though. My podcast has only been out since December of last year. So, but I have learned a lot in this short period of time, and I ask a lot of questions of people who've been in it a lot longer than I have. And I had an amazing coach when I first got started. So I can definitely share everything that I've learned. And I'll do whatever I can to promote your podcast when it is launched. Because you know what? I am a firm believer in that if we all uplift each other, we'll all rise a lot higher. So, it's all about collab and, uplift. So, I'm super excited about both of those things. And we'll make sure that in the show notes we have your if you said, so definitely Instagram. Do you do a lot with Facebook? Right. Facebook. Okay. So
a lot of right now with Facebook is a lot of so I used to be really active on Facebook a long time ago, and then I got off for about 2 or 3 years. And now I just recently, maybe like 2 months ago, started back again. And oh my God, it just seems so different to me.
It is different from 2 years ago.
Yeah. And people that's been there are like, no, nothing's changed. I'm like, no, it's different. So a lot of what I post on Instagram is what I'm sharing on Facebook right now.
Okay, that's a great way to do it. That's a good way to streamline things, because I think you can actually push straight from Instagram to Facebook, can't you?
To Facebook, and that's what I've been doing.
So that's time efficient. That's smart. Work smarter, not harder. So we'll share. You'll give me your deets, and then I'll put that in the show notes so people can follow along the journey, because people love following journeys. I know I do. I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. This is a journey.
Yeah, I do too.
Fruition. So people will definitely be interested in that. And so totally appreciate you sharing your fear, how you overcame it. And that just speaks volumes. And I know that there are quite a few people who are listening in the tribe right now who may be on the fence about writing a book or starting a podcast or doing a project. And, just hearing the encouragement from you is enough to kind of push them over so that they can get going and rip off that Band-Aid. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we are now at that point in the show where we do the fill in the blank. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay, cool. All right. So the first one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
So, I mean, for me, fearless freedom at this point in my journey means just that putting myself out there, putting more content, more of what I have to offer out there. It means saying yes over and over and over in my head. It starts there, to opportunities like these to share my story. Yes, to this passion that's pulling at my heart, day in and day out. I can't sleep. There are many days I just want to ignore it and just like cover my head and, do nothing. But just to continue to remind myself to say yes. It means, and saying yes can also mean saying no to a lot of things, right? Saying no to being super comfortable, right? Saying no to a lot of things too. Saying no to things, saying no to people, sometimes too. That can be really hard, but no to people that don't really provide that support that you're looking for. You talked about, where I was talking about, just overcoming my fear and putting it out there. A huge part of that was also my support team. I could not have done it without people pushing me and saying, you can do this, you have to do this. It means persisting, even though I don't have that excitement anymore, or a lot of times I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to post today? I am teaching my son a lot of stuff. There's a lot to share, but then there are times where I just feel like, are people going to want to see this? But just persisting and continuously posting. The last time I checked my followers, I had about maybe like 90 something. And then yesterday, when I paid attention again, it was like over 500.
Awesome.
And it's just because, and I was just like, wow, it's just because I've just been posting and just being consistent, no breaks. I've just been doing that. Fearless freedom it means asking for help. A lot of, there are times where I just like sit and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother nobody, anybody. I don't want to, Charmaine's busy, how can I reach out to her and ask for help? And, but sometimes it's just like putting myself out there and being vulnerable and saying, you know what, I need help with this. I don't know everything. So that's what it means for, those are the things that it means for me.
Awesome. Wow. That was great. All right. And then, so if you are fearless, so if I'm fearless, I will, what will you do if you're fearless?
I think it's, it was just stated in some of the things that I just said, just put myself out there, collaborate more, start that podcast, right? Do things. Yep. Start things, write that next book in the series and, that kind of stuff those are things that I would do. One thing that I want to, want to add to things that I do is like, start speaking, so like speaking engagements and stuff, booking that kind of stuff to, talk to kids, talk to families about some of the things that I'm teaching and, the whole topic around financial literacy, so just, starting some of those things, even if it means starting with one or two people, but just starting.
Wow. Yes, we must talk offline about that. But yes, I can see that visualized in my mind right now. I can see you doing it. Just saying. All right. And then last but not least, my battle cry is?
Battle cry. So I don't know if I have a battle cry. Can you give me an example of what?
Oh, yeah, sure. So my battle cry is...
I know what battle cry is, but in in the concept of this question,
Yeah,
what?
sure. So my personal battle cry is be strong, be brave, unleash your greatness. That's my battle
Okay.
cry. So, your battle cry could be one word, it could be a couple of words, it can be,
Oh, okay.
so
So I mean,
whatever you feel like embodies your like call to action, like what makes you just like go, like whatever that is that you want to put out into the universe as
I
your
think
anthem.
for me, I think the biggest thing is I belong here and I'm here to make a difference. I have to keep telling myself that I am qualified to do this. I am qualified to do this. I have a purpose that is greater than I am. And so those are the, things that I keep telling myself and that keeps me going.
That's
I do a lot of
perfect. That's
meditation. I
awesome.
do a lot of meditation, and I like to visualize stuff, and um, very spiritual person, and I have to keep pushing myself and telling myself that, of course, you belong. You're qualified. You can do this. I was writing a short bio for the first book, and I needed to look at examples of other bios, and you have all these professionals, like I've been teaching for 20 something years, or I'm a financial expert for this number of years. And I'm just like, yeah, no, that's not me, but I'm writing this bio and I'm qualified to write this book and teach this on this topic. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, wow.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Sammie, for being on the
Thank,
show. The Tribe
yeah,
Appreciation.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on because I know it was kind of short notice and you were kind of like, what, today? Okay. So I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the work that you're doing. I love following you. Oh my God. All kinds of inspiration.
Oh,
All kinds of
cool. Thank you.
inspiration from how to manage burnout to, I mean, you're a doctor. I'm not, right? And I was like, what do we go, when I started following you, I was like, there was something that I saw that made me follow you. I forgot what it was. But then I got to your page and I was like, oh my God, of course I can totally relate to half of these things, even though we're in two different professional fields, right? But it's like your workout. I love working out, how you're eating healthy, how you're out there inspiring people, how you're, in spite of all of your fears, like when you told me you had fears, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
really,
Girl, there's so
Shanae?
many.
No, you don't. Yeah, so you're such an inspiration, and thank you for putting it out there like that. Thank you so
Oh, thank
much.
you. I appreciate you
Yeah.
following everything. Thank you for joining us today on this journey. Fear is all around us. It strives to stop us from achieving our greatness. We have the tools to be overcomers. By sharing our stories, supporting each other, and doing self-reflection, we can do this. If you found value in this conversation today, please be sure to subscribe to and share this podcast with your friends. By going to your favorite podcast platform, leaving a review and a 5-star rating, you will help to get the word out about it. And that is much appreciated. Thanks again for spending time with us. I appreciate your time and your attention. It is my hope that you will punch fear in the face today and that you will be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.